Now I do two things. I do a story a day right now on mass murders of black people, and I do a show every day about a lynching of a black person. The reason for both stories, the mass murder and one lynching, is to understand that we are under attack individually and collectively. And in order to be able to defend ourselves, we must stand as a collective. So today's individual lynching is Henry Smith, 1893. I'll show you this picture. Henry Smith, 1893. Let me read this to you. On Friday, February 3rd, 1893, Henry Smith was lynched in Paris, Texas, in front of an estimated 15,000 spectators. His death was one of the earliest spectacle lynchings on record. The heinousness of Smith's death captured the attention of journalist and anti-lynching advocate Ida B. Wells. She included a detailed description of the events in her semi-annual The Red Report, a work that sought to expose the inequalities of racialized mob violence. Smith was implicated in the death of Merle Vince, a 4-year-old white girl and daughter of Henry Vince, a Paris police officer. Her body was found in the woods near Paris on January 27th. Considered inoffensive and feeble-minded by many Paris residents, Smith supported himself through odd jobs at the homes of local whites. Despite his seemingly harmless disposition, his encounters with the child's father seemed to make him an easy target for suspicion. Henry Vince, a man known for his temper and mistreatment of prisoners, had arrested Smith and beaten him for disorderly conduct and drunkenness several days prior to Merle's murder. Some local residents contended that the crime against Merle was exacted by Smith in revenge. After discovering that he was named a suspect, Smith fled to Detroit, Michigan, then boarded a freight train and headed for his previous residence of Arkansas. Perhaps Smith believed he could find safe harbor in his former hometown. He was captured in Hope, Arkansas, more than 100 miles from Paris. News of Smith's impending return spread across portions of Arkansas and Texas. Citizens of Paris quickly announced the day and time that Smith could be tortured and burned, as no trial was intended. They announced the time that they would torture and burn this man alive without a trial. And the whole key to all this, I want black people to understand. Listen to this. After discovering that he was named a suspect, Smith fled to Detroit, Michigan, then boarded a freight train and headed for his previous residence in Arkansas. Perhaps Smith believed he could find safer harbor in his former hometown. He was captured in Hope, Arkansas, more than 100 miles from Paris. News of Smith's impending return spread across portions of Arkansas and Texas, right? Citizens of Paris quickly announced the day and time that Smith would be tortured and burned on, as no trial was intended. Understand, I tell you, racism, white supremacy, strength is in their unity. is in their understanding of placing a certain amount of value in each white person's life and the backing of each other's, regardless wrong or right, when it comes to dealing with black people. This is the strength and the power of white supremacy. And us as black people are one of the main contributing engines to continue white supremacy. Because we fail to stick together, and our division as individuals allow us to be separated, broke off, and lynched. Okay, let me continue. When the train carrying Smith back to Paris pulled into the station at Texanol, 5,000 people awaited his arrival. He was placed atop a platform described by some as being linked like a float in a parade. They carried him to a scaffold specially constructed near Paris with the monarchy justice written across the front. Come on, man. These people never believe in justice. Eventually, 15,000 spectators gathered at the scaffold with men, women, and children straining their necks and straddling other spectators to obtain an unobstructed view. Relatives of Vince stood on the sobby wooden platform beside Smith and begun to cut his shirts piece by piece from his body and tossed the pieces to the crowd as souvenirs. They then applauded hats, iron rods to his torso. They then applied hat iron rods to his torsos, plugging them down his throat and into his eyes. He was then doused in oil and set on fire. Smith screamed in agony as he and the coals beneath him began to burn. Smith attempted to escape the platform and fell 10 feet to the ground. He was lacerated and lifted back into the fire by members of the mob. Appalled by the lynching, Texas Governor Stephen Hoggins dispatched a telegram to the sheriff of Lamar County the day following Smith's burning, requesting that those responsible for it be arrested. Despite both the governor's plea for justice and the public nature of the crime, no one was ever arrested for the torture and murder of Henry Smith. Nearly 2 weeks following Smith's death, a group of white men hanged William Butler, Smith's stepson, in nearby Hickory Creek for allegedly concealing information regarding Smith's location. Butler's murders were also never punished. Black people. Listen to me when I tell you this. Listen to me. If you don't stand together, if you don't pull your resources together, you will continuously be lynched.